Today I want to explore a topic that fills our hearts with hope and excitement: the signs that the universe is about to reward you. You see, the universe is always conspiring to bring us blessings, and when we're in alignment with its flow, miracles unfold before our eyes. So let's dive into the 7 signs that indicate the universe is preparing to shower you with abundance and joy. Let's delve into the first sign. You feel an intense gut-level feeling that your dreams are within reach. When you experience this visceral sensation, nothing, no person, no obstacle, no past failure can stand in the way of your vision. It's as if the universe is initiating you into a new realm of wealth and possibility. Trust this feeling, for it is the universe's way of guiding you towards your destiny. Now, let's explore the second sign. Starting to feel a sense of limitlessness, abundance, and worthiness bubbling up from within. This is a significant shift, my friends, one that can completely change the way you experience life. Imagine this. Instead of feeling constrained by limitations and scarcity, you begin to tap into a deep well of abundance and worthiness that lies within you. It's like discovering a hidden treasure chest filled with limitless possibilities and untapped potential. As you embrace this newfound sense of worthiness and abundance, you're not just changing your mindset, you're also rewiring your body at a chemical level to align with your highest aspirations. You're literally becoming a magnet for the experiences and opportunities you desire, effortlessly drawing them towards you with each passing moment. So, how do you tap into this sense of limitlessness and abundance? It starts with a shift in perspective, from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility. Instead of focusing on what you lack, focus on what you have and cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for it. Next, recognize that you are inherently worthy of all the good things life has to offer, simply by virtue of being alive. You are a unique expression of the universe, with gifts and talents that are meant to be shared with the world. When you truly grasp this truth, you'll no longer feel the need to prove your worthiness. Instead, you'll confidently embrace it as your birthright. Now let's take a closer look at the third sign. Realizing that you're not chasing after your dreams. Instead, you're collapsing space and time, drawing the experiences you desire towards you. This is a profound shift in perspective, my friends, one that can completely transform the way you approach manifesting your desires. Imagine this. Instead of running tirelessly after your dreams, you step into a state of flow where the universe conspires to bring your desires to you. You become like a magnet, effortlessly pulling in the opportunities and resources you need to manifest your dreams. It's like stepping onto a dance floor with the universe as your partner, moving in perfect harmony with its rhythm and flow. As you surrender to this dance, you'll find that the path to your dreams unfolds before you with grace and ease. So how do you become the vortex, the center of attraction for your desires? It starts with a shift in mindset, from scarcity to abundance, from lack to plenty. Instead of viewing your dreams as distant goals to be chased after, see them as already within your reach, just waiting for you to claim them. Now, let's take a closer look at the fourth sign, understanding that the universe only gives us what we believe we're worthy of receiving. This is a powerful realization, my friends, one that can truly transform your life. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a vast ocean, holding out your hands, hoping for the waves of abundance to wash over you. But here's the thing. The universe doesn't respond to begging or pleading. It responds to your belief in your own worthiness. When you truly understand and embody your worthiness, it's like flipping a switch in the cosmic machinery. Suddenly, the floodgates of prosperity swing open wide and abundance rushes in to meet you. So, how do you step into your worthiness? It starts with a shift in mindset, from scarcity to abundance, from lack to plenty. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you do have and cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for it. Now, let's take a deeper look at the fifth sign, embarking on the journey of personal transformation. This sign marks the beginning of a powerful shift in your life, as you recognize that in order to create a new reality, you must first change yourself from within. Think of it like this. If you want to build a new house, you wouldn't start with the roof or the walls. You'd begin by laying a strong foundation. In the same way, personal transformation is the foundation upon which your new reality will be built. So, what does this transformation entail? It starts with becoming aware of your habitual thoughts, actions, and emotions, those patterns that have been running on autopilot for so long. It's about shining a light on the parts of yourself that may have been hidden or ignored and bringing them into conscious awareness. Once you've identified these patterns, the next step is to consciously choose to shift them towards alignment with your desired future. This means making intentional choices in every moment, steering yourself towards thoughts, actions, and emotions that support the vision of the life you want to create. Now let's take a closer look at the sixth sign, understanding the power of emotional resonance in bringing your dreams to life. This sign is all about recognizing how your feelings play a crucial role in manifesting your desires. When you embrace the emotions associated with your future every single day, you're sending a strong message to both your body and the universe that this reality is already yours. Imagine your emotions as signals, like tuning a radio to your favorite station. When you tune into the frequency of your dreams and keep it locked in and day out, you're creating a powerful vibration that resonates with the universe. This resonance acts as a magnet, drawing your desires closer to you with each passing moment. Let's break it down a bit further. Every day, as you envision your desired future, allow yourself to truly feel the emotions associated with it, whether it's joy, gratitude, excitement, or love. Let those emotions wash over you, filling every fiber of your being with their energy. As you do this consistently, you're not just daydreaming. You're actively programming your subconscious mind and the quantum field with the vibration of your desires. It's like planting seeds in fertile soil, nurturing them with the water of your emotions until they sprout and blossom into reality. Let's explore the seventh sign in depth. You start to see synchronicities, coincidences, and opportunities aligning in your outer world. These occurrences aren't just random chance, my friends. They're the tangible outcomes of the inner transformation you've been undergoing. As you work on yourself from within, you'll observe more and more of these signs cropping up in your life. It's like the universe is giving you a nod, affirming your growing belief in your ability to shape your reality. Imagine this. You've been focusing on your goals, diligently working on your mindset and emotional state. Suddenly you notice that things start falling into place effortlessly. You bump into the right person at just the right time, stumble upon an unexpected opportunity, or receive an answer to a question you've been pondering. These synchronicities serve as gentle reminders that you're on the right track, that your inner shifts are making waves in the external world. It's essential to recognize that these synchronicities aren't mere coincidences. They're the universe's way of validating your efforts and guiding you towards your desired outcomes. As you continue your inner work, delving deeper into self-awareness and growth, you'll find these signs becoming more frequent and unmistakable. It's as if the universe is conspiring to support you, to nudge you towards your highest potential. So if you're experiencing any of these signs, know that the universe is aligning to reward you for your alignment and dedication. Embrace these signs with gratitude and excitement, for they are the harbingers of the abundance that awaits you. Remember, you are a powerful co-creator of your reality, and the universe is always conspiring in your favor. You gotta connect, you gotta experience, you gotta be present. All of these things are important elements. So that was the first thing. The second thing was that they realized that it was the mismanagement of their emotions and the hormones of stress that really began to create their condition. Now, stress is when your brain and body are knocked out of balance. The stress is when your body's not that of homeostasis, We have an innate mechanism in our body that returns us back to order. So then if someone cuts you off on the LA freeway, you have an emotional reaction, but 15 minutes later, you're back to driving and you're over it, right? That's all organisms in nature can tolerate short-term stress. But when it's all day long, all week, all year. So if you're reacting to like a Tyrannosaurus Rex is chasing you, you have to make a decision. Am I going to use 20% of my energy? I'm going to use 100%. So it turns out when you're reacting to traffic, 200%. All right? Or if you're reacting to your coworker sitting in the cubicle next to you, you're turning on that response, and what was once very adaptive becomes very maladaptive, because when you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease, because nobody can live in emergency mode for that extended period of time. Well, human beings, we can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. You can think about your problems and you're producing the same biological effects. So those chemicals give the brain and body a rush of energy, and people become addicted to that rush of energy. So now they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their addiction to that emotion. They need the bad job. They need the poor relationship. So that means they become addicted to the life that they don't even like. Why do we need the bad job or bad relationship and stay stuck? Because it's a conditioned response. So listen, if you get angry at a coworker and all of a sudden you get an arousal in your brain and body, right? You get a rush of energy. When you start noticing that your body starts dropping, your brain starts noticing your energy starts dropping, you're automatically going to have the image of the coworker in order to give your body the next the jolt, right? So all of a sudden people become addicted to their own thoughts, right? So these people realize that, oh my God, I've been mismanaging my attention and energy, and I got it. I got to get beyond my past. I got to get beyond these emotions. I got to make some big changes. I got to break the habit of being myself. I got to stop being this person. Now that sounds really good, theoretically and philosophically, but change is such a hard thing. All right, because the moment you come back to your senses and you step back into your life and you see that person where you go to that place or you're with that experience, so many people are unconsciously reacting in their thoughts and feelings to everything in their environment. So now their environment is controlling how they think and feel. So they realize that in order to change, it'll change the environment. They got to be greater than their environment, greater than the conditions in the world. In the circumstances, be mindful of that every time they come up to be like, yeah, I'm going to think differently, right? I'm not going to react. Yeah, right. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back. Because the moment you start reacting emotionally, emotions are a record of the past. And if those emotions are driving your thoughts, you're thinking in the past. And if you can't think greater than how you feel and you believe your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, you're creating more of your past, right? So it turns out that the repetition of thinking and feeling and thinking, these loops that people get caught in, condition their body to subconsciously become the mind of that emotion, which means now their body their unconscious mind is believing they're living in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I kind of moved past the word visualization because I think it kind of conjures up a little bit too much of a spiritual association. The word that's used in science is called mental rehearsal and mental rehearsal. There's two types of mental rehearsal. There's what's called internal mental imaging, which means you're in the scene as the first person experiencing it. And then there's called external mental imaging, which is you're observing yourself in the scene. Turns out that when you are actually in the first person or not the third person, that action of rehearsing what you're doing produces the strong biological change. Now let's talk about this. You can take a group of people that have never played the piano before, and you can do a functional brain scan on them, and then you can teach them one-handed scales and chords, and they'll practice those chords 2 hours a day for 5 days. At the end of 5 days, they grow a whole new set of circuits on the opposite side of the brain. Well, that makes sense. You learn something new. Learning is making new synaptic connections. You get your body involved with some instruction. When you get your body involved, you're going to have a new experience. Experience enriches the brain. You pay attention to what you're doing. You got to pay attention. Yes, they present, and if you repeat it over and over again, firing and wiring, you assemble new networks of neurons equal to your experience, and nothing new there. But you can take a group of people and you can have them close their eyes to a brain scan on them before the experiment. 5 days later, do a brain scan after. And for 2 hours a day, they mentally rehearse playing those scales and chords at the end of 5 days. They grow the same amount of circuits in their brain as the people actually physically doing the exercise. So what's the relevance? Number one, when you're truly focused and you're truly paying attention, your brain does not know the difference between what's going on out there and what's going on in here. So the thought becomes the experience, and the brain looks like it's been playing the piano for the last 5 days. But they never lifted a finger now from a biological standpoint. Our brains are a record of the past. They're an artifact of everything we've learned and experienced to this moment when we prime the brain to change its circuitry before the experience. Now the brain is no longer a record of the past. It's now a map to the future. And so as we warm up those brain circuits, it's more easy for us to slip into a supernatural behavior. If you take those people and you set them from the piano and they've never played the piano before, but they've been mentally rehearsing for the last 5 days, they'll play those scales and chords. Like magic, they just learned how to do it just by changing their internal state. Take a group of men, you can have them close their eyes and for an hour, they mentally rehearse doing bicep curls over and over again, and they add an emotional component called harder, stronger, more intense, and they put themselves in that first-person internal mental image at the end of 2 weeks. They have a 13.5 increase in muscle strength, and they've never performed the activity. Not only is the brain changed to look like the experience has already occurred, now the body has changed by thought alone. You see, going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, is the biological, is the chemical, the hormonal, genetic death of the old self. People who say to me, I'm in the river of change, I'm in the unknown, I'm in this void, I can't predict my future. I always say the same thing to them. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? You can't wait for your wealth to feel abundance. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You can't wait for the mystical moment to feel awe. You can't wait for your new relationship to feel love or your new job to feel gratitude. It's the old model of reality, of cause and effect, waiting for something outside of you to change how you feel inside of you. When you feel differently inside of you, you pay attention to whoever or whatever caused that. And that event in and of itself is called a memory. To wait for our environment to give us relief. The quantum model of reality is about causing and effect, which means when you feel whole, you begin to heal. When you feel empowered, you're going to be successful. When you're worthy enough, you'll feel abundant. When you are in love with life and in love with yourself, you will find an equal, or it will find you. And when you are in awe of the moment, the mystical is going to bless you in a way that you never anticipated. And when you are in a state of gratitude, your job is on the way. It's causing an effect. And by the way, what is the emotional signature of gratitude? Don't you give thanks when you get something or you receive something? So then, what if you were to begin to give thanks or feel thanks before it manifested? Would your body, as the unconscious mind, believe it's in the future experience in the present moment? because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. And so we don't pray in our work to have our prayers answered. We get up as if our prayers are already answered. It is that state of mind and body that I know that requires a clear intention and an elevated emotion. And the clear intention is an act of the mind and the brain, and an elevated emotion is when you open your heart. When you combine those two elements, you just moved from living in your past to living in your future. So then, here's the question. Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the experience has already occurred? Can you fall in love with a future potential that already exists in the quantum field? And how many potentials exist in the quantum field? Infinite potentials in the quantum field. Can you select a new potential in the quantum field and emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest to such degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and you're signaling new genes and new ways? If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the experience has already happened, there's evidence there physically, by thought alone. Relax, because the experience is going to find you. There's an intelligence that's giving you life right now. It's keeping your heart beating and digesting your food and organizing trillions of functions in every single cell of your body. It's organizing mutations in your DNA. There's some invisible force that's giving you life, but that same intelligence that's keeping your heart beating and digesting your food is the same intelligence that's creating supernovas in distant galaxies and causing flowers to bloom. It's both personal and universal. It's within you, and it's all around you, and you can't see it, and you can't smell it, and you can't taste it, and you can't feel it. But it is the giver of life, and it is a consciousness. And consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention, and it is the observer observing you into life. And you know, when I tell our advanced students, either you're going to be defined by a vision of the future or the memories of the past. And then people say, why are you so bitter? Why are you so frustrated? Why are you suffering so much? And your brain, in that emotion, you're in the emotion, which means you're in the chemical residue of the past, is going to call up the event because you're emotionally connected to it. And you're going to say, I'm this way because of that past experience. So then imagine what I do with people. We have people that have been abused. We have people that have been traumatized, that have been assaulted. We have people that have had very, very difficult pasts. And have you ever heard me say to revisit the event? Have you ever heard me say that? Never do we need to revisit the event, because once you do, you open the box. But what we want to do is overcome the emotion, because that's just what's lasting from the event. So you sit a person down, and the moment you sit them down, what do you think the body is going to do? It's going to look for something to recreate that emotion, because that's the person's identity. Are you with me still? So if I inspire the person to sit there, and they're sitting there, and all of a sudden they're noticing that they're hot and they're irritated and their stomach is twisting, and all of a sudden it's a group of sensations, a group of feelings that they have called all along frustration. But the different sensations, the moment you name it, it becomes an emotion. But what it is just bodily sensations. It's energy that's stuck in the body. So the body is looking to go back to the past. It's believing it's in the past. Are you with me still? So if the person becomes aware that their body is doing that, and like training an animal, allow the body to feel that emotion and then settle it down into the present moment. When you settle it down into the present moment, the body starts to trust the present moment and move out of the past. And there's a release of energy. Then the body goes, wait a second, what's going to happen in the next moment? And it starts doing that. And it starts to try anticipate the future. And you settle the body back down into the present moment. And every time you do that, you're telling the body it's no longer the mind. That you're the mind, and your will is getting greater than the program. And all of a sudden, you start to lower the volume to that emotion. And when you begin to break the addiction to that emotion, the side effect of breaking that addiction is called joy. It's called freedom. All of a sudden, the body's saying, I don't want to be tormented anymore. Now, does that mean you shouldn't grieve over things that you lose? Grieving is a biological process. It's neural pruning. It's a death of circuitry. It's a death of emotions. It's the absence of void of something in your life. And that's important. In grief, sooner or later, you've got to come to a greater understanding about death, a greater understanding about loss, a greater understanding so that you can adapt to those conditions. Every time I sit with someone and they start complaining about their life, and I let them go for a few minutes, and then I go, oh, you know what I say to them? You only complain about your life when it's not working. And the emotion that you're feeling right now is keeping you connected to the past. You never do this when your life is working. And so I don't have a problem with moving through the stages of emotions. But I also know that what a person really wants more than anything else is to be free. People want to be free. And I have witnessed transformation. It was so alive in their mind that they began to live as if that future reality was happening in the present moment. So here's my question. Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the event has already occurred? The latest research in neuroscience says you can change your brain from living in the past to living in the future. And can you fall in love with that vision to such a degree that you come out of your resting state and change guilt or suffering into inspiration and joy and gratitude? To such a degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between that external event and what you're creating internally, so that your body believes it's living in that future, in the present moment, and you begin to signal new genes in new ways to change your body, to look like the event has already occurred. The latest research in epigenetics says you can change your body by thought alone. Now reason this with me. If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the event has already occurred, your brain and body are no longer living in the past, they're living in the future, and you will walk right into your vision, something new you wanted to experience. And the moment you started thinking about this experience, the moment you started contemplating this potential reality, you turned on a part of your brain called the frontal lobe, the crowning achievement of the human being. It's 40% of your entire brain. It is the creative center, and it has connections to all other parts of the brain. And the moment you said, what would it be like to be a leader? What would it be like to be successful? What would it be like to have this vision come true? The moment you asked that open-ended question, you turned on this part of the brain because the rest of the brain is just a bunch of automatic programs. And now the frontal lobe, the creative center, wakes up and it has connections to the entire brain. It's the CEO, it's the boss, it's the symphony leader of the brain. And the moment you get creative, the frontal lobe begins to select different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain from things you've learned or experienced. And as you begin to think a what-if question, it begins to select these different networks and begins to seamlessly piece them together and making your brain fire in new sequences and in new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind, because mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. And the moment those neurons fire in tandem, you get a picture in your mind, a hologram, a vision. For those people who are passionate, that thought that they're thinking begins to create an elevated emotion. They become inspired, they feel enthusiastic, they become passionate. They started to open their hearts. And all of a sudden, they're combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion. And it's the combination of a clear intention and an elevated emotion in our research over and over again that proves then the person now is changing fundamentally, changing biologically, changing internally. and their brain and body are moving from living in the past into living in the future. When you do that, when you had that moment, you came out of your resting state, and then you started to write down all the things you were going to do to get to that vision, all the choices you were going to make, all of the experiences or goals you wanted to achieve, and all of the emotions and the joy you would feel. And when you were doing that, you were setting your sights towards that destiny. And then you did something really brilliant. You wrote down the choices you weren't going to make. You became aware of the behaviors you weren't going to demonstrate. You began to review certain experiences you wanted to stay away from, and then you looked at the emotions that would bring you to a lower level, and you began to separate the old self from the new self. And when you begin to do that and you're observing the old self, it means you're no longer the program. Now you're the consciousness observing the program, and that's when you begin to objectify your subjective self. And so the moment you stop making the same choices that you always make, get ready, because it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's the moment you're heading towards the new self. Do you think that you can change the circuits in your brain by thinking about it? So I did this experiment a little ways back. It took these people who never played the piano before, and they separated them into 4 categories. And they said, listen, we're going to scan your brains before you learn this exercise, and then we're going to scan your brain after. And all you have to do is show up for 2 hours a day and practice for 2 weeks, okay? And just follow the instructions. And we're going to hook your brain up to these sophisticated scans, and we're going to see what happens before and after. So they got with these people, and they said, okay, first group, here's the scales, and here's the chords. They're one-handed exercises. Practice them over and over again. Keep playing them. So they played every single day, 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. They scanned their brains before, they scanned their brains after. After 2 weeks, guess what happened? Whole new set of circuits lit up in their brain that never lit up before. That makes sense. You learn something new. Learning is making new connections. Repeating it over and over again is sustaining or maintaining those connections, and that's called memory. So they memorized what they were doing by physically practicing or personalizing what they learned. Make sense? Yes. Standard. Simple. It took the second group of people, and they said, listen, we want you to play 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. We're going to scan your brain before and after. You know what we're going to do? We're not going to tell you how to play anything. You just come and do whatever you want. Play whatever you want. So at the end of 2 weeks, guess what happened to them? Nothing. You know why? Because they couldn't remember what they had learned the day before. And they couldn't remember what they played the day before, and they had no structure. They got no instruction and no knowledge to be able to apply it to make some steady circuits. It took the third group of people, and they said, listen, don't even show up. Don't even create your day. Same thing, nothing happens. The last group of people, they said, listen, we want you to come 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. We're going to show you these one-handed exercises, but instead of you physically playing the piano, we want you to mentally rehearse over and over again those exercises. We know you're going to get tired, so we'll nudge you and we'll keep you awake. But you practice for 2 hours a day and you keep repeating those. The end of 2 weeks, they rescanned their brain, and guess what happened? Same area of the brain lit up as if they were actually playing the scales. Now you know what that means? They grew new circuits in their brain just by thinking about it, just by thinking, just by rehearsing. Now every time we learn something new, we make new circuits in the brain. If you learn anything new, learning is making a new connection in the brain. New neurological connection. Memory is maintaining or sustaining those connections, keeping them alive. And the only way that we maintain and sustain connections in the brain is by repetition. Repetition allows the neurons to develop a long-term relationship. So these people every single day made it the most important thing. They gave up their social engagements. They gave up television. They said, I'm going to rehearse. I'm going to mentally rehearse the greatest ideal of myself every single day. And as long as I keep doing it every day, what's going to happen to those circuits? They're going to light up and become the more sustainable circuits to act as a platform of who they will become in the future. During this process of rehearsal, while they were sitting down rehearsing who they were going to be, just like the piano players rehearsing over and over again, they had long moments where they lost track of time and space. In other words, they became so involved with what they were doing that when they opened their eyes or they lifted up their eye masks or when they turned the lights on in the room, it was 2 hours later, and it only seemed like 5 minutes. They were so involved with what they were doing that they lost the feedback of the body, they lost the feedback from the environment, and they lost track of time.